Greetings and welcome to Spider McGowan Porch channel. This time, we're going to clean the Hyrule Fantasy, which is The Legend of Zelda. This is the Japanese Famicom version of the cartridge. I took it apart already, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit about how to actually get these apart without breaking these tabs off and ruining your Famicom cartridge. Now, there's a little bit of, garbage at the back of this cart. I don't know how to get all that off of there, and instead of damaging the label, I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just not going to do anything with it. I'll sanitize it, but I'm not going to do anything with it. And this actually came from a US seller, so I am not worried about it being anything coming from overseas on it. You know what's floating around or not. We don't need to say it. I'm going to clean the inside of here. That was the whole purpose of pulling this apart, was to make sure that I got all this all cleaned up. But yeah, would you look at that? I mean, come on. It's awesome. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison. Go ahead, take a picture of it if you want to. I'm going to bring this up a little bit so you can see this one by itself. And this is the original NES version. This is my modification because I want to make sure the battery is free and away from the PCB so that if it pops, it won't do anything to the actual, it'll destroy the actual holder, but it won't damage my cartridge in any way. So yeah, this is one wonderful holiday. For a present, having a Famicom cartridge, come on. I mean, I've never seen one in my life. This is the first time actually handling one and actually getting to physically touch one. And yeah, I couldn't be more elated, just ecstatic about it. It is so cool. Labeling on the board too, we'll say. Like WRAM, your program RAM, character ROM. Alright, I'm gonna get busy cleaning this sucker. But you guys tell me how your day is going and what your holiday is going like, because mine is awesome. I can't express the amount of nostalgia that I'm having right now, just being able to see that label like that, because it's like, that's how I remember Link. And I mentioned it when I was covering the Zelda's Encyclopedia that I was going to pick up a Famicom cartridge. And I also said it when I was with my cartridge, or my my game collection video, that I was going to pick this up. Now, I do not have a Famicom yet. I don't have a Famicom console. Before I pick up an actual Famicom console, I would much rather have the Sharp Famicom Twin, where it actually has the Famicom disk system built in too as well. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a bit gnarly. I'm glad I took it apart and cleaning it now. These vintage games really do require some TLC. If you ever had a chance to play this particular version of the game, why don't you go ahead and leave a comment down below and tell me what you think of it. The only time I've ever seen it would be through emulation. I never got a chance to play this in the cartridge format. I've played it emulation on the Famicom disc version, which I believe is very similar to this one right here. Yeah, you can see that cart to wear line, or the cart to board wear line, even on these. Trying to get all that garbage off of there. Man, I can't express how happy I actually am having this as part of my collection. I so wanted this. You know, like the cartridge version of it. I'll eventually get the Famicom version of it too, the disc version of it too, but I really wanted to see it on the cart because there's something specific that I want to try on it. I want to see where everything's at. I want to see if anything's changed, because if this, I don't believe that this would be a Rev A. I think this is probably the original revision of the game. This thing really caked on, and that's not silk. See, that's not silk screen coming up either. That's just dirt on the board. That's like, welcome to your new home, there, buddy. Trying to preserve these things, bring them back to where they're playable. I'm curious whether or not the Game Genie or the Game Enhancer will work on this. Because, you know, oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. I mean, yikes. Oh, sorry, yeah, that's a little bit of battle damage from taking the cartridge apart. I even got my thumb too. Like I said, I'll tell you all how I did that in a little bit. It came apart way easier than I thought it was going to. Seriously, I thought it was going to just be an absolute nightmare, and it turned out that it was really, really rather easy. I mean, originally I thought it was going to be, you know, like before I got the proper tools, that it was just going to be an absolute chore, and I was going to have to use these pry tools and stuff like that to get it apart, and no, you don't even have to do that. Although those came in handy and I did use them. Get this flux residue off of here. I believe that would be flux on here. Yeah, I'm still speculating whether or not that'll play. I'm sure the codes and the memory allocations won't be the same for the Game Enhancer. prepped and ready to go, so now we can get busy on the eraser part of things. Yes, I have my safety glasses on as well. Make sure that you wear your safety glasses if you're going to attempt to do this, because you really don't want any of this media from the eraser coming up and hitting you in your eye. And yes, I'm cleaning the actual eraser from having any leftover stuff from previous cleanings. You know what? I think I forgot one thing, and I normally do this. Color combinations. White goes with white. The green. This is the best I can do for green. And the red goes for the text and Death Mountain's sunset or sunrise. Yeah. There we go. Oh man, yeah, this is awesome. I remember back when I was a kid, I would go over to a friend's house, actually to my neighbor's house, and I would speak to her father about The Legend of Zelda and how to get through the game. It was something that we would always discuss, and we would have, I would say, long conversations, he and I, about this game. Finding things where everything goes. We were able to find heart keepers before the heart keepers, you know. We were able to pick up the magic sword before we would even have to 5th level. Before we even have to go into 5th level, you'd already have the magic sword and ready to go. You'd have the blue ring right away as soon as you start the game. As soon as you get your enough rupees for the blue candle, you can easily go and collect enough bombs and buy all the rest of the other things that you would need, so that you can go ahead and just find all the rupees that you need to, so you can pick up your blue ring right away. And I couldn't believe how much easier the game played after doing that. Now we're trying to go in between those lands and grooves. You know, these are the lands, these would be the grooves right here. We're trying to get in between that and picking up the material that's catching in between there and getting it caught up and collected into the media of the eraser, so that when we scrub it clean, it doesn't just smear it back right back over it again. Oh, you know, before I before I forget, here, let me show you guys exactly what happened from the last time that I had these carts open. There's that note chip that I put down on it, that clear coat note chip. This isn't the conformal coating, this is the actual nail polish version of it, and I put a little, you know, a good layer of it right across here on that cart to board wear line. And some of these are bubbling up. Well, this one, it looks really good still, like even now. Like, hey, that's awesome. I've also gotten, did I get any further in that game? No, I don't think I did. I think I was waiting to come back to it again so that I can beat it, you know, like as like a, what, I don't know, maybe a unlisted video, or a, you know, like a few months later or another couple years later, come back to it just to show that there's no corrosion on the board, to prove that this right here, the eraser method, works long term versus just maybe a short term fix. Because oxidization and verdigris that goes back on these because since they are copper, or a variant of copper, that they might corrode or have that gather right back on them again. Alright, just give me 1 second here. I'm going to go ahead and clean up. Alright, I'm back. But yeah, that's the one thing I was really concerned with, is that it would come back. You know, like once you cleaned it off, that you do all this extra work, and it's just going to need to be scrubbed and polished again and again and again every so often. The cat here. Cat hair on my stuff. I think when I'm busy outside plowing my driveway and stuff and using my snowblower, I think Miwu likes to get up here on the desk and she likes to get into things. I think one of these times I'm just going to set up the camera, see if I can catch her in the act. I wonder, I'm just going to speculate here. I wonder if this particular cartridge has been converted from Japanese to English. I don't know if it needs to be, but I'm just thinking is that maybe, just maybe, since there's so much flux on the board right here, that somebody did something to the actual character ROM right here, took it off the board and hit it on a programmer, and then placed it back down on the board again. And that's why there was leftover cotton swab fuzz when we looked at it first. So, I don't know. But it would be cool to find out here in a little bit. Man, this reminds me so much of a Super Nintendo cartridge. It's just... it's so much smaller. Even on the contacts are just... everything's so much smaller and more compact. You know, this cartridge versus the other. Alright, let's check that. Should we get her dry first? And we'll check it for the mirror polish on it. Looking good. Looks sharp too. And I'm not seeing any issues with traces being broken or anything like that. Silk screen or solder mask being removed. All I'm seeing is a lot of extra just flux and actually just dirt and grime. See, that's flux. This side's all nice and done. And the reason why I chose this color combination is because if I use yellow or if I use white as a background, the camera likes to go out of focus on me. And it has a real hard time with gauging depth. Kind of washes it out. So yeah, that's why we're not doing the that particular color combination. Took me a little bit. See, now that's green, and that would be solder mask. And I could pick up some UV solder mask repair stuff. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm going to. But most of these things that we have that I've been getting haven't been requiring any type of repair like that whatsoever. I think, what, maybe 2 games out of, that'd be what, 70 some games, or I don't even remember how many games I have. I'm not counting them. I'm just like, that game has to be part of my collection. I used to go off of the official Nintendo Player's Guide, and I'm like, yeah, I really don't want. Well, there's one game that it's really rare, and I really don't want to spend the money on it. It's the Donkey Kong Junior Math. I would never play that. I want these games so I could play them. That's the whole point of having them, is to play them. That's why I get them loose cart. I don't want them in box perfect CIB. I'm not willing to spend gobs of money on a collector's item like that when I'm not. That's not what my collection is for. It's meant to be played, because these things bring me back to a different time in my life, as I'm sure it does for others as well. Even if you haven't grown up with these games, you could still play them now, and then what, 5-10 years after, play it again, and you were like, oh, I remember that time when I was playing that game. I was playing that game that time, and that was a good time in my life. I was really enjoying, a really awesome job, or I had a wonderful career, I had a great woman or great person, significant other in your life. Just brings you back to a better time, or to a different time. And for me, I always remember the good stuff. I don't remember the bad things. It's like, why dwell on the bad stuff? I always think positive. I always go for the positive. And so far this year, the more positive that I have been, it's just, it really works. I mean, everybody's having a rough time this year. And we understand that we're going through a rough time, but we don't need to talk about it all the time. It was like, I don't want to talk about the rough stuff. I'd rather talk about, like, hey, just the other day we had a nice little blizzard blow through here, and I went out there with my snowblower, and it started right away. That kind of thing. It didn't take me forever to start the thing. No, even if it did, I wouldn't say that. It was like, no, I went out there and it worked great. And I had my buddy stop over yesterday, since we had the blizzard, not in Minnesota, and there was a nice good snow berm right off my patio, and I grabbed that snowblower, and I went nice and slow, and I went right through that entire snow berm, and I moved the entire thing. And I was skeptical at first. I was like, is this machine actually going to be able to handle all of that? And oh, sure enough, that machine was definitely cleaning it. Gotta clean that eraser. I don't want to recontaminate. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah. It didn't even make a sound of its struggling. Like how an engine will do that, like a small engine, where you're putting a lot of excess load on it. where it sounds like it's going to stall out on you. Well, with that thing, no way. No way. Now with that Brazen Stratton 250cc, no, that thing's just an absolute, like I was saying before when I was, making the video up, it's an absolute beast and an animal when it goes through that snow. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind it is. It just scoops it right up and shoots it right out. The only problem that I am having right now is the chute. It's I'm gonna have to get some like bar and chain oil for a chainsaw or something to either lubricate that particular spot on it, because there's a bolt that keeps it there where the chute's actually connected to it, and it raises up and down through a cable. Well, that cable is no longer able to push it up when I'm needing it to go up, and I have to manually move it every time. It's a little annoying, but it's not bad. I'm thinking either I grab my Dremel and Dremel it out a little bit so that it slides easier along that bolt, because it's, like, I'll show you guys eventually when I go back out again, because I know for a fact we're going to have plenty of it this year, and I'm not going to have any problems about starting that thing up and running it. I'm going to have a good time. It's going to be a blast. Okay, digression. Sorry, I was going off from my neighbor, how we would go over there and talk about this game all the time. Well, he was the one that came up with the whole walking through the wall. And he knew about level 7 being able to do that, and that there's one wall in level 7 on the original mission through for Zelda that you walk through a wall. Well, when you beat the game and you play mission 2, well, it's really interesting that you have to walk through a wall right away on level 2. Or is it level 3? I can't remember exactly which level it is numbered, but I know where it's located and I know which wall it is to walk through. Like, to recall it, I would have to be in-game to be playing it. I can't just, like, recollect it on the spot and say, hey, this is where it's at, blah, blah, blah. Room number, location number, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It doesn't, my memory doesn't work that way. All right, I'm going to clean up real quick. Give me a second. Yeah. And for sharing information back and forth with my neighbor's dad, he, as he found the passageway through the wall where you walk through the wall and you don't have to bomb or anything like that. Well, here I'm the one that found heart keepers in certain areas that normally wouldn't be found, and he couldn't believe it. Like, no, it was like, yeah, go get that heart keeper and you'll be fine. You can go ahead and get your, you can get your silver sword, you can get your magic sword. I skipped the silver sword entirely. I don't even go for it. I just, sneak past all the enemies and go and collect the magic sword right away. Yeah, we're almost done here. Oh, and before I do have a cartridge converter, and we'll open this up here in a little bit too. And then we'll see how that plays. I might play this first in my FC Twin, just in case that adapter might be faulty, and I would rather have my FC Twin go than having my actual console go. I'm sure you guys understand where I'm coming from on that one. So, yeah, I know that's a new one. It's a new adapter, but sometimes adapters, you know what I mean? Yeah, might be a little sketchy. Some people are like, but yeah, I really want to get a Famicom. The system and the actual disk system, and have it all as one stacked unit. I think that would be fantastic. But I also want that sharp FC Twin. or you know, the Famicom Twin. I really want that one because I want the actual black and teal one because it has turbo on the controllers. It's just I gotta have my turbo, man. Gotta have my rapid fire. That's the way to do it. Okay, let's take a look at this. Yeah, that was shined up brilliantly, didn't they? Yeah, I mean, I tell you, that eraser, having an electric eraser right here, this little guy right here, and then using this to follow it up to catch the rest of whatever's left behind with that, works out flawlessly. All right, give me a second. I'm going to close this session out. I'm going to start up a new one here. Now we're going to go on to the actual how to get these apart. You need a tool like this. You can have it any size that you really want, but you know, ideally you would want one a little bit bigger or about the same size as this cartridge itself. Here, I'm not going to put the actual PCB back inside of it, but I'll show you exactly how I did this. I took it like the cartridge was assembled like this. I don't want to take it apart and do it again. You know what I mean? I don't want to end up breaking these tabs because, come on, you know how old this is? It was 30 years old now, isn't it? So what you do is you take it and you hook it right where the actual clips are at. Like this clip right here, and you have it right there on this. And then you just clamp it. Of course, it's in the other direction, you know, like so that you can pull it apart. And make sure that you have the lips off, you know, from each other so that this can slide back out. And when it does come apart, it might make a really interesting noise. And like I said, I got some battle damage from it when I was doing it. But I was like, it worked. I mean, right here, it pries it apart and it works. If I get more Famicom cartridges, I will actually demonstrate the actual separation of this cartridge a little more in depth, but I'm not doing it to Zelda. No. Now this is the first time I've ever had a Famicom cartridge, and I don't end up wanting to ruin one because of it. All right, we know that I'm gonna have to clean that here, but let's open this. Let's see what this looks like. Like a Merry Christmas. My apologies if that's a little bit loud. This is a Famicom cartridge adapter. I always wanted one of these. I was just curious of how they functioned, and I figure it's probably very similar to what there's a bunch of them out there like this. Converter boards. But I like this one because it actually has the shell and all that, and you just put your cartridge in there. And you can have the larger cartridge too, like the Final Fantasy 1 and 2 cart, if you've seen that one. For the Famicom, that's really cool that they have both games on that cart. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a converter and cart. Let's see what the manual says on it. Okay. So yeah, you do come from this side with it, and you put it in this way. Okay. Cool. And you know, You know what would be very curious about these particular devices is, okay, that's just another language. I think that's Dutch, isn't it? Is that French? Wow, that's a lot of different languages, isn't there? That's cool. Cool. They really want to keep it for everybody. Okay. I am going to go ahead and clean this off camera, put it back together again, and I'm going to go ahead and check it out and see what it looks like inside the console now. See you guys in a little bit. That is cool. There's only one way that these cartridges fit in here. You know, it's notched so that you can't put it in backwards. Awesome. All right. So I'll put it back together again. No issues. I got a little bit of something here when I first got it too. There's a mark along here. This side doesn't have, but just this one side. I think it's probably from the same material that's been back on here too. All that color and discoloration. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what it looks like when we put it together here. I'm sure this is going to sound really terrible. Oh, we're good. Brand new. Alright, we have a Nintendo cartridge. That's Famicom. Ugh, I can't wait to... Hey everybody, I'm back. Alright, so this is what I'm talking about, where you just skip the silver sword entirely. And yeah, I'm using the game enhancer on a Famicom cartridge, so I take no damage. But that's like the only code that I've found so far on the code list from the book that actually works. So it's nice. And the FC Twin seems like it's the only console that I own right now that actually runs this game properly through the adapter. The original control deck has graphical artifacts that make it rather unpleasant to play. Let's just put it that way. It makes it look like a really bad RF switch. Like a really bad one. Alright. So all I have left is 5, 6, 7. I already beat 8. That's it. And right now I'm going to go for level 6. Because this is by far one of my more memorable stages because of how many times I've actually had to play it because I would always die. Yeah, these mages in here are pretty ruthless. So the blue ones seem like they're more easy to defeat. It's the yellow ones or gold ones, they're the more brutal of them. Yeah, lost my shield. Yeah, but when I beat this, what I'll do is I will record the second mission on the second time through, and I'll use that as a unlisted video for those that are interested in seeing how or where everything would be at for that one. And as I, just from memory to see if I could play it all the way through or not. This game brings back so many memories. Being a kid again. It didn't take half as long as I thought it was going to get the blue ring. Finding all the resources, it just didn't take very long. I only started my my gaming session around by I want to say midnight, maybe 1, and it's only 2 o'clock right now. Sorry, I couldn't leave them there. The game is really, really, look at that, life. I mean, it's just wonderful. This version of the game is amazing for life. Even gold and resources, everything. It's been dropping bombs, been dropping everything that I would expect a game like this to do for me, and it's been doing it. Every other version, like Rev A's, they have nothing dropped at all, period. You can be sitting there on the game for hours waiting for a single rupee. I love this game. I love this version of it. Okay, I think this will do it for me. Thank you all so very much for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year, in case you don't see me again. Until then, take care and happy gaming, everyone. Hey, everybody. Just like to share this with you. You hit your pause button, and on the second controller, you hit up, A, and B. And you can actually save, continue, and retry without losing your life. Pause button, up and A. Save it. Turn the console off if you want to. And you pick up right where you left off, minus, of course, your hearts. Just felt like sharing that.